Although, in 2017, Britain cracked down on psychoactive substances, there are actually a variety of legal and loophole, let's say, grey market drugs which are available. And these have been specifically allowed. I want us to think about this in terms of pressure valve theory. It's the idea that there are certain things which people are allowed to do, which are somehow rebellious or would otherwise be illegal. But they are tactically allowed to do these things for the government's own reasons. This is kind of like biopolitics. Most people who've been to the hospital for something that was very painful have probably heard of cocodamol, paracetamol and codeine. Codeine is an opioid. So, and you might not think that there are opioids available over the counter, but there actually are. This is a big problem for the NHS. Lots of people get addicted to this. And even though it says for 3 days use only, the fact is that it works, which is why it's sold in the first place. But it can potentially also, along with another drug, dihydrocodeine, which is in the same class at least. These can potentially help people to quit much harder drugs. And there is another one which is kratom that has not yet been banned in Britain. It's very much available online, and it's quite popular really because it helps people to quit heroin specifically. Some people say that kratom has a stimulant effect if you take it at low doses, and whilst I can't really attest to that, there are plenty of stimulants that are available. The most obvious one, of course, being caffeine. But I also want to talk about pseudoephedrine. Now, please do not take this thinking that it will be like cocaine. Do not take more than it says on the packet at any point, because it goes very hard on the high blood pressure, and you won't feel high. You'll have a very bad time. It could be very bad for you. That said, it is used as a stimulant. It shares a structure you can see quite similar to amphetamine with this extra group here. Very popular for people who want to use it as a nasal congestant, but it does also have dopaminergic and adrenergic effects. People sometimes take it to stay up longer and things like that. Again, I'm not recommending that you do this. Modafinil. I always imagined that all the politicians are taking this. Why? Because it's illegal unless you import it in bulk. Which just sounds like something that the people who made the law put in for themselves, frankly. People might remember the movie Limitless, effectively about a drug like this that's supposed to give you super concentration and increase your IQ and all this kind of thing. Of course, modafinil very much is a stimulant. It very much is something that is available, and it has effects on dopamine, and for that reason you have to be very careful with it. Certainly don't take it at night and think that you're going to sleep, because you're not. Certainly don't take a high dose or anything like that, but it's technically available to be imported into the UK, even though you can only get it on a prescription on the NHS. Now we're into depressants. Promethazine is sort of maybe a bit like a benzodiazepine or something like that. And whilst it's not particularly strong, it very much can put you to sleep. You can buy it over the counter, and it's very widely available in Britain under a lot of different names. Yes, don't combine depressants. Combining depressants is a very bad idea, and that includes alcohol. So, alcohol. Interesting how it's the first substance we've seen so far that's actually known to be a carcinogen, that's actually known to cause cancer. And look at this molecule. It just gets all in your body in all the different systems because it's so small. Yeah, alcohol's very, very obviously a part of the pressure valve, the world over, time immemorial. But CBD is also available. There are more people who prefer to smoke weed now, I think, than who drink alcohol in our generation. But CBD obviously does not have particularly the effect of THC. You're not going to get high. You're not going to find everything funny. It's just not going to have that kind of effect profile whatsoever. Yes, THC is responsible for the euphoric and hallucinogenic elements of cannabis. And CBD is available to you in Britain legally. All of this is legal. Nothing I've said so far is illegal. Although we will get onto some grey areas. Psychedelics. So this little chap, psilocybe semilanceata, or the Liberty Cap, which is a little bit easier to say. This grows everywhere, and it's really not possible or desirable to make it illegal. Psychedelics, people are becoming more aware of the benefits. It's I think, quite widely known at this point that that there are many potential benefits to psychedelics because they can put you into a hallucinatory state. They can enhance your introspection, your conceptual thinking, cause euphoria and the loss of the ego. Kind of like a brain reboot, restart your subconscious environment, I suppose. Yes. Now, I think these are not illegal because they grow in the country. But it's definitely illegal to sell them. It's definitely illegal, quite possibly, to buy them. So that's a grey area. And absolutely, as it says here, we must be very careful if we're going to be going into the fields to look for mushrooms, because I remember this meme that two mushrooms look identical. On the one side is like, this is the mega orgasm mushroom that that changes your life. On the other side is the instant death, painful demise mushroom, and they look identical. So the meme rings true. But we also have peyote, which is much harder to mistake for something else. And this is legal to cultivate and legal to have as a plant, even though it has to be imported. Peyote, of course, contains mescaline, which is a phenethylamine psychedelic. It's a little bit different in character to the mushrooms, and it is 100% to purchase. It is 100% illegal to purchase mescaline, synthetic mescaline, and so on. Especially, you should be careful because lots of that synthetic mescaline is actually, N-Bohm, 2CE, or some other similar chemical, but with a very different safety profile. And people have died. People have definitely died from taking what they thought was mescaline, but it's actually something else. I certainly don't encourage people to go and kill a cactus either, because this cactus is actually very rare, and it's actually a great shame if you buy it just to eat it. I find there's something greedy about that, because it's not really harmony with nature, is it? Because the cactus is endangered. So if you're doing your part, being a part of that psychedelic harmony with everything, you should probably leave this thing alone. Let's just go back to pressure valve theory. So the idea is, if you provide some kind of mild form of each of these different forms of escapism or performance boosting or whatever it is, you are giving people an option that means that they don't have to go to harder drugs. Now, what would I say about this? I would say, from a practical standpoint, if you're living in the UK or a country with a similar biopolitical philosophy. I would say if you're taking a very hard drug, heroin, cocaine, something like that, maybe you even want to cut down on your marijuana use, well, I would suggest that these milder forms of those kind of experiences, like a lot of people take opioids who are just, they're just depressed, you know, because opioids are pain, they're painkillers. They're not necessarily that effective for very long, they're very addictive, but they're painkillers. And depression is a kind of mental pain, you know, but there's a great book where the thesis essentially is, if you give rats who are lonely drugs, they will take them until they die. But if you give rats who are happy and have a mate and roll in the rat society, they'd rather go about their lives than they would touch the cocaine or the heroin or whatever is being offered to them. And that tells us that the drug problem is partially a psychological problem. And to me, that almost points horrifyingly to the idea that the government is offering these things for people going the other way. So I said, if you're addicted to something heavy, this might be a good option for you to begin your journey towards controlling your life again, because being an addict is like being a passenger in your life, horrifyingly. But if you're not addicted to anything, these options have been made available so that you can find out if addiction is right for you. And while I'm all a supporter of the liberty to control our own conscious state, everybody in this space knows that addiction is a horrifying thing to experience. And so I don't know if I've emphasized this too much, but by showing you this, I'm not encouraging that you take any of these things. I'm just encouraging you to think about the dynamics of politics. Because think about, in a dystopia, there's a lot of pressure that builds up. People are repressed in all kinds of ways. You need a big pressure valve. You need a big pressure valve to keep that pressure down. And the valve is escapism. It is stimulation. It is a drug like modafinil, which basically encourages you to work more. Think about it from an economic perspective, a biopolitical perspective, as well as a psychological perspective. And tell me what conclusions you come to, because I'm just one mind. I'm sure other people have some interesting takes. Thank you.